In the red corner, with 17.5 million copies sold as of October 2022. Universal acclaim by critics and gamers alike, and for worming out gamers who complain that games should have an easy mode. Elden Ring! And in the blue corner, matching its predecessor's first week sales in its first day. Also with universal acclaim from critics and gamers. And the fastest selling game of 2022 besides FIFA, God knows why, and the first true next-gen console selling game, God of War Ragnarok! So let's put the two biggest games of the year against each other and see who comes out on top. Touch gloves and I want a nice clean fight.
So being eye candy doesn't make a game great, but it does make a great game even better. Although From Software games are never made to be graphical powerhouses, Elden Ring has some truly amazing designs. The scope of the world and the amazing boss fights are truly a sight to behold. They have created a beautifully dark world and its inhabitants in disturbing detail, and you often find yourself stopping to take in the scenery. Speaking of graphical powerhouses, God of War Ragnarok is truly stunning. All the realms are brought to life in painstaking detail, character models and animations are near perfect, and the fact that, like the 2018 game, the game is displayed in one continuous shot from start to finish, it's not only the better looking game, it's actually one of the best looking games ever made. For these reasons, Elden Ring gets a 4 out of 5, and God of War Ragnarok gets a 5 out of 5. From light wildlife cues to epic battle soundtracks, you gotta sound good. Elden Ring, much like its graphics, plays to its strengths here. Its minimalist approach is extremely effective, but the huge boss fights and that bloody brilliant title screen theme are bombastic and powerful masterpieces. A lot more going on here. With tons of dialogue, God of War not only focuses on music and sound, but its amazing voice actors. Most do an amazing job as well. Kratos and Atreus sound great as always, and Thor's booming voice make him a scene stealer every time he's on screen. Some of us feel a little bit off, but you can't win them all. Unfortunately, only Witcher's Gwent music and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 soundtracks will secure a solid 5 with me. So keeping that in mind, both Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok for me will score a 4 out of 5 each. This is what differentiates video games from other forms of media. Elden Ring hosts a huge range of gameplay options. Many different playstyles and combinations mean it can always feel fresh. A deep combat system that makes every battle a strategic mindfuck. You get excited every time you find an enemy to dismantle. Also, searching every tiny part of the world for loot and secrets feels like a joy and not a chore. God of War also boasts battles where strategy is the key, especially on the harder difficulty settings, but puts more focus on going on full rampage mode and destroying everything in your path. You feel immensely powerful, almost godlike. With plenty of hidden areas, bosses, loot, and side quests, exploring the world is an absolute delight. Although both games are quite different, they both nail exactly what they were setting out to do. So for this reason, they both get a 4.5 out of 5. Did you break a controller? I almost broke a controller. From Software is notorious for its unforgiving difficulty. So much so that it's pretty much created its own genre for those who like to punish themselves. Elden Ring is no different. Right from the get-go, there is no courtesy spit. It goes straight into pummeling you into the ground. Early on, even the simplest enemies can cause the "you died" scream PTSD condition we all suffer from. And the bosses, they will blow out your playtime. So I played God of War in its hardest setting. It is not an easy game like this. Your standard hordes, unlike Elden Ring, can still be dispatched with relative ease. There are some boss fights, especially the Berserker spirits, that are absolutely insane. Death after death, you will change tactics, armors, buffs, moves, and strategies, and still only make it through by the hair of your teeth. And surprising no one, Elden Ring gets a 5 out of 5, and God of War Ragnarok gets a 4 out of 5. How much bang for your buck will you get with these two titles? Elden Ring is a big game on its own. Lots of areas to explore, new things to find, and new enemies to kill. Adding the ability to completely change your character, PvP battles, optional co-op, and new game plus options, you can expect to sink hundreds of hours into this game and still find something new. For a game that looks and plays like this, I wasn't expecting a long game. I was pleasantly wrong. Aside from the main quest, there are plenty of side missions and areas to explore. Tons of collectibles for the completionist and all of us, and as I've just clocked in 55 hours and finished the campaign, I still have leftover quests and a range of new ones in the aftermath of the finale. It's not a ridiculously long game, but I can see myself finishing everything off and even starting over again. In the long run, Elden Ring gets a 5 out of 5, and God of War gets a 4 out of 5. Do we care why we are doing what we are doing? Again, a minimalist approach, Elden Ring relies on players reading a lot of lore from in-game finds, as well as carving out their own story, which I'm all for. Some side quests are really interesting, and the world's lore is dark and disturbing. It's an amazing combination. Just a little more story in-game would have made the whole story feel a little bit more coherent. A continuation of the God of War saga, Ragnarok continues where the 2018 title left off, and it's bloody brilliant. A truly epic story about finding your own way, being who you want to be, and accepting some things can't change. It has some very heavy moments throughout. Even the bloody side quests are top notch, on par with Witcher 3 in my opinion, which is almost an unachievable feat. I was invested the whole way through. And in our last category, I'll be giving Elden Ring a 3.5 out of 5, and God of War Ragnarok a 5 out of 5. These are two very different games, but they also share a lot of similarities. God of War was an epic adventure that made you feel powerful and looks absolutely stunning. Elden Ring is a massive game with so much variety, and one I spent a good part of the year playing with my best mate in co-op. 2022 has been an astounding year for gamers. Lots of great indie titles have dropped, some unexpected gems, and of course, two of the biggest and most badass open world RPG games of all time. But unfortunately, there can only be one winner. An extremely close battle, I think God of War Ragnarok takes the edge. With its superior graphics, continuing an epic story that many have already invested in, and many quests in its unique worlds, it's just a better game. In saying that, before playing Ragnarok, I really wanted Elden Ring to win. I had an amazing time in the world, playing co-op with a mate was a bloody good time, and I loved the difficulty. It made the stakes feel high, and the payoff more rewarding. But really, the true winner is us, the gamers. We got to play these two epic titles in under 12 months apart. It's rare to have a game on this level release any year, and we got two of them. The only issue, can future titles exceed what we now expect from open world adventure games? They have set an extremely high bar, and I think a lot of developers will need to change to meet the new gold standard. So that puts an end to our Game of the Year battle. It was an extremely close matchup with two of the best games ever made in my opinion. Do you agree with the outcome? Is there another game that should have been in the mix? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you saw and you want to see more, subscribe to Let's Die Together Gaming to stay up to date with all our content. Thanks for watching and see you next time.